Hey everybody, this is Marian Cowie Owen.
And this is David Owen.
And this is You Show Me Yours, the podcast where a married couple talks about the movies and TV that they loved before the first date. And today I was made to watch Krull.
Yes.
Not Crawler.
Not Crawler. Not,
I don't remember even the jokes I was making last week, but none of those. It's Krull, which I had never heard of before this, but apparently...
Not that actor.
Apparently I was missing out.
Nick Krull, is that his name?
Yeah, not him.
The comedian, not him.
Not a biopic about him, no.
Not him. That'd probably be interesting.
Yeah. No,
but it's
not Krull. That's the other joke I made last week. No, not Krull.
Krull. Krull. Krull.
It's the double L, so you know it's extreme.
Double L. Krull. Yeah, Krull is, of course, the 1983 sword and sorcery meets sci-fi cult classic. It was directed by Peter Yates, who, if you don't know, Peter Yates directed Bullitt, which I believe was a Lee Majors joint.
Okay. From like the 50s or 60s?
From the 70s, I believe.
Okay.
So Bullitt is famous for, along with like the French Connection and the Getaway, I think, or which one of them. But the Bullitt is famous for his car chase.
Okay.
It is that when you think of a Hollywood car chase going through San Francisco, you're probably thinking of clips you've seen from Bullitt, going on the big hills, up and down, jumping, going through the windy streets. There's that one street that winds down. I think it winds down, and then like you can see Alcatraz at the bottom. It's the bay.
I'm trying to figure out the connection here, but okay. There is none.
I'm saying Peter Yates, the director of this movie, directed Bullitt, and he wanted to diversify his portfolio of movies. So he thought, what better than an attempted cash in on the Star Wars and sword and sorcery trends of the late 70s, early 80s.
So the connection is that there's no connection. Okay.
I mean, the connection is the guy directed the movie. And if you may know Peter Yates, where the other place you would know him from is from directing Bullitt, which you would only know Bullitt from its super famous San Francisco car chase.
Okay.
That's the follow my through line here. It can be difficult, like the winding roads of San Francisco, but we navigate it all the same.
Knocked over a couple of fruit carts on the way, but
absolutely. It's their fault. Entrepreneurship has its downside.
Mm-hmm. And they're so round and easy to knock over. Right. Really. That's it.
Yeah. Everybody knows about San Francisco and their round fruit carts.
I mean the fruit.
Okay, sure.
Anyway.
So this movie is great. It's like I said, it's a cult classic. It's one of those movies that is just you know, if you know it, you love it, and if you don't, you probably don't know it.
Right.
It wasn't a big hit. It's like so many movies of the 80s, 70s, and 80s. It was an attempt to cash in on a trend, and it flew under it didn't live up to the heights that it was trying to imitate. And so it just flew under most people's radars, even back then. I'm pretty sure it was super expensive and it lost a bunch of money, I think. But if we want to do the cliff notes, the spark notes on the plot.
Mm-hmm.
It's there's a lot that happens, but I guess the simple sum it up is some alien guys come to a world in their big mountain fortress, and they kidnap a princess, and the prince who was going to marry her has to save her, and adventure ensues.
Well, yeah, you say a lot happens, but also not much happens.
No, like a lot happens in this movie. But also a lot of nothing happens as well.
Yeah, it's pretty much boy has to save girl.
Yeah, the structure, overall structure of the plot is pretty simple.
There's not many B plots.
Yeah, I don't know. There actually kind of is. So this movie is notable for a few reasons. One of which is that it's a very early appearance of Liam Neeson and Robbie Coltrane.
Yes.
So you've got both a guy with special skills and a giant who's not supposed to do magic outside of Hogwarts.
Or a nun on the run is what I
Yes. Well, yeah. So Robbie Coltrane would go on from this to do Nuns on the Run and some other comedies. Liam Neeson would go on, I think, almost immediately after this in the next couple of years to do Dark Man, which is a movie we will be watching for this.
Okay.
And then to become Liam Neeson.
Yeah. Have you, by the way, ever seen Nuns on the Run?
Oh yeah, totally.
Oh really? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So I never have.
Oh, it's great.
My brother and I loved the trailer. I don't know. I guess Nuns. We thought it was funny, and so we just used to quote the lines from the trailer to each other. This is a bedpan. Bedpan? We use it for getting rid of shit, and then knock him over the head with it. Like when we were, I don't know what, 10, 12, however old, we thought that was hysterical.
Oh, I'm sure.
I don't think that I could watch it though because it would not live up to my
probably not.
memory.
Yeah, I like I've told the story many times. We had a VHS pretty early because of my second, my mom's second husband, who was a drug dealer, I don't really know the real story on him. I assume he was a drug dealer. I assume he was just like selling low level stuff. But anyway, we didn't exactly live in luxury, but every now and then some probably stolen luxury items would come into the home, and having a VCR pretty early on in the 80s was one of them. And my mom used to just try to rent all these, wacky comedies. Cause in the 80s, this was when I thought I was going to be, a stand-up comedian by day and a rock star by night.
Yeah.
And I was going to change my first name to Rick.
Yeah.
At the time I wasn't aware that stand-up comedians also work at night. Like I was going to be like strictly a matinee stand-up comedian.
Be like the 10 a.m. show.
Yeah, 10 a.m. Like maybe I could do a 3 o'clock, but that's pushing it because I've got to get to the venue for the show.
Soundcheck. Yeah,
for soundcheck. So Nuns on the Run, and all those movies. We watched all those 80s screwball comedies, even stuff I shouldn't have been watching, like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and stuff like that. So
yeah, I feel like there were many things that watched that were inappropriate.
Oh yes, my mother should be ashamed. I love you, Mom. If you're one of the 10 people that listen to this podcast, I hope you don't though.
Okay. Anyway, so when did you first see this? Was this during that?
This was in the wood grain VHS cassette box. Okay. So late 80s, early 90s. Yeah, 10-ish years old probably. And this was exactly for me. And that's what this movie is. This movie is Star Wars, right? Like Star Wars is a kid's movie. Like it's 100% a movie for children. Mm-hmm. It is like teenagers, sure. And that's, you can go down a hole. There are entire podcasts on how people forgot that when the prequels came out, and, adult men thought the movies were for them, and they weren't. They were still for kids. This movie was for kids. It was one of these movies that was it was for the whole family. It's rated PG. It's just a big grand adventure, and I loved it. I ate it up. I watched it multiple times. I'd pull it out every now and then. It had a great VHS case, great box art. I might tweet out the box art because it's just great. It has the mountain at the top, but also the beast's face is superimposed over it. And then Colwyn is holding the glaive, and it's great. So like you were saying, there's nothing going on in this movie, but just that little bit right there tells you there's actually a lot that goes on in this movie.
Sure.
One of the things I wrote down on my list of things to talk about is pacing. And this is probably as good as a segue as any to get into that kind of stuff. This movie has both versions of a pacing problem. There is too much going on to process. And then when things happen, sometimes they happen so slow.
Yes.
That you lose interest.
Yes.
So for instance, in the beginning of the movie, Colwyn and Lyssa are about to marry. They are from opposing kingdoms, or, their fathers have sort of a little rivalry, like a back and forth, I asked you for help on this journey. I sent 20 men. Oh, they never arrived. They kind of go back and forth the two old guys in the balcony for the Muppets. They argue back and forth with each other, but they're just grumpy. And that's going to seal their kingdoms together so that they can fight the Slayers, who are the army of the Beast. And the Beast is this entity who brought the Black Fortress to the planet Krull. You see what I say? Like when I say like not a lot happened in this movie, but a lot happened, like there's a ton of stuff that happened. And their wedding gets interrupted and yada, yada, yada. So after their wedding is attacked, Ynir, I think, or Ynir is his name. It's your old wise man. Mm-hmm. He comes down from the mountain because he knows what's going on. He knows it's the prophecy time or whatever. And he actually says this prophecy at the beginning that this princess with an ancient name is going to marry a guy and their son's going to rule the universe, whatever. And he comes down and he finds the wedding that's been crashed by the Slayers. Slayers run off with Lyssa because, I don't know, she's the most eligible princess on Krull and the beast wants to marry her. And he finds Colwyn and tells him everything that's happened and everything that he has to do. And they go and they get the weapon that he needs to defeat the beast called the glaive, which should be in this movie way more. I feel like the glaive is, you won't get this. The glaive is like Poochie. You know, when the glaive is not on screen, other characters should be asking, I wonder what the glaive is doing right now.
Okay. Definitely don't get that, but that's
somebody's laughing at that hilariously. Okay. So that's like the first 15 minutes of the movie. Mm-hmm. All of that stuff I just said.
Climbing up the mountain to get the thing.
Hang on, right.
Takes like 10.
And then for the next 5 to 10 minutes, Colwyn climbs up a mountain in shot after shot to go and get the glaive.
Yes.
That is what I'm saying when they have a pacing problem. They can get through 15 pages of exposition in 15 minutes. And then a scene that probably on the page said, Colwyn climbs the mountain, sees a cave, goes inside and retrieves the glaive. Took 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And there are other scenes like that. Later on, the old man climbs a mountain to go into a cave. And it also takes like 5 minutes.
There were parts during that I was like, can I sneak in a nap?
There is,
you won't notice. Like
there is a part where the glaive is carving through a wall.
Yes.
And it takes at least 2.5 or 3 minutes.
It's a very complicated shape, too.
It cuts it in a very odd shape. And the whole time, Colwyn is standing there with his arm extended.
Yeah.
Like waiting for it to come back. And it's just going at the pace that like a literal rescue squad would go if they had to cut through like the door on a car. Like it takes forever.
Well, you know, it kind of reminded me of, since this is 1983, it kind of reminded me of Print Shop when it was printing those banners, and it would be just, you know, and all it's doing is, you know, back and forth dot matrix, and it would just stop and it would go thinking for like ever, and then it would go again, and it would take like an hour to print this
and it says
banner.
like Happy Birthday Margaret, but each pass of the printer is just one line, and each like the upright of an H is made up of like 8 lines.
Yeah.
So it takes like 5 minutes just to print a full H.
Yep.
You know, and it's like that. It's just going, and it's doing this like alternating 45 degree, like it cuts at a 45, then it cuts at an opposite 45.
I kept waiting
and just
to
keeps
see
going.
if that was some special symbol, and for a minute it looked like it was going to be a heart, which I was like, okay, that's cheesy, but sure. And it was just a random shape.
This movie is 2 hours, almost exactly 2 hours.
Oh God.
And this could be 90 minutes easy.
Well, I kind of thought it would be, and I was a little disappointed when we paused halfway through, what turned out to be halfway through, and I was like, oh, there's so much left.
There's only an hour gone. Yeah, so that's what when I say this movie, a ton of stuff happens, but every now and then they just decide to take 10 minutes. Like let me just give you like the real quick actual things that happen in this movie. Okay, so we did all that stuff. They find the glaive. After they find the glaive, they have to find the fortress because the Black Fortress moves at sunrise every day. So now they need to go and find the Blind Seer. On their way to find the Blind Seer, they meet 10 criminals who try to accost them. Before that, they meet Ergo the Magnificent, who, of course, we all know Ergo the Magnificent. He is short of stature, tall in power, narrow in purpose, and wide of vision.
I kind of like that phrase, though. Yeah. I feel like I might need to steal that.
Yeah, you don't know, you probably don't know this, but if you've ever listened to the Magic Tavern, Hello from Magic Tavern, which is a podcast, there is a character on there named Usador who is a wizard.
Yeah.
And for the first forever, it may still do it. I haven't listened to recent episodes. Every time he says his name, he has to say, I am Usador, Wizard of the, and he's got this whole thing that he has to say. And then like the host is like, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. I am Usador. And he's got to say the whole thing again.
Yeah.
Ergo is like that. They meet Ergo. They on their way to see the blind seer. They take a path that will cut off some time. They go through a quarry, and they are accosted by 10 criminals, which one of which is Liam Neeson, the other of which is Robbie Coltrane, and Colwyn in his kingly way convinces them to fight for him, and so they become his army. Then they continue to journey. They go and find the blind seer, who attempts to locate the Black Fortress but is stopped by the beast. They then realize they have to go to the Emerald Temple if they want to do it, which is on the other side of a swamp. The whole time that this is happening, there's been a Cyclops that's been following them. On the way through the swamp to the Emerald Temple, they get attacked by Slayers, who are these stormtrooper looking guys. It's like a combination of medieval armor and stormtroopers. And when you kill them, like a weird spermy jellyfish thing comes out of their head and goes into the ground. Along the way, they fall in quicksand, and one of them dies. While they're distracted by the quicksand, a changeling replaces the seer, the blind seer, who then attempts to kill Colwyn when they get to the Emerald Temple. But the Cyclops, who is now with them, saw the body of the real seer and runs in his heroic thing and throws his trident and spears him. And then a bunch more stuff happens. Now that the seer is dead, they have to go to the Widow of the Web. And it just so happens that the old man, Ynir, knows the name of the Widow of the Web because everybody who goes in there dies. He goes in there, and she you find out that they used to be a couple, and he left her because of his ambition, and they had a son, but she murdered it because she was mad at him. And becoming the Widow of the Web, who is just like a lady who sits in the middle of a spider web with a crystal spider that walks around and kills people, that's her punishment. She turns an hourglass, which is the sands of her life. That allows him it freezes the crystal spider, which allows Ynir to get inside. Then they have their heartfelt reconciliation. He sees her as young and beautiful, and she is Paul Atreides' mom from Dune. And she breaks the hourglass because it can't be turned again, and gives him a handful of the sand. He runs out of the place using the sand, trickling a little bit of it out every now and then to keep the crystal spider at bay. The crystal spider attacks her house in the middle of the web, and it explodes. He gets out of the cave. He runs down to the edge of the swamp where the whole group is waiting. He yells out the location of the Black Fortress on the next sunrise, and then the rest of the sands fall out of his hand and he dies. And then they have to go and catch fire mares, who are horses that can run fast enough to get to the Black Temple, because it's going to be in the Iron Desert, which is like 1,000 leagues away. And they can also fly, by the way, if no one told you that. But they spend a good 5 minutes rounding them up and like breaking them in. Then they go to the temple, or then they go to the Black Fortress. But the Cyclops has to stay, because the Cyclops, and this is one of my favorite parts of this movie, the Cyclops used to live on a different planet. A planet that was also taken over by the Beast. And while the Cyclops people, before they were Cyclopses, they had 2 eyes. They made a deal with the Beast. Hang on, I'm talking so much I'm parched here.
Yeah.
They made a deal with the Beast to be able to see the future, but the Beast double-crossed them, because that's what the Beast does. And he cursed them to only be able to see the future of their own death. And when they see their death, if they don't accept it, then they will die and die peacefully. They will die in a much more horrible and painful way. So the Cyclops has to stay behind when they catch the fire mares. He can't go with them because it is his time to accept his death. And they all go off to the fortress. They can't get in because they're pinned down by the Slayers, who, by the way, have laser muskets. They have 1 shot in their laser musket. And then all of a sudden the Cyclops shows up and he holds the door open. He just absorbs all the shots because he's like bulletproof. He holds the door open while the ragtag group gets inside. Then he's crushed, and that's his punishment. He is crushed to death by a door. Then they run around inside the fortress, and Ergo, who is magnificent but also a shapeshifter, gets separated along with this little kid named Titch, who was like the seer's right-hand man. And Ergo turns into a tiger and fights guys, but gets shot in the paw. And then all the rest of the group finds where the beast is keeping Lissa, and that's when the glaive takes 5 minutes to cut through the wall, and then they fight, and then it turns out only true love can beat the beast. The ceremony was interrupted before Colwyn could take the fire from the hand of his bride. He does it, and then all of a sudden he can shoot fire out of his hand for some reason, and he kills the beast, and they get out, and the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's everything that happens in the movie.
Yeah.
But also there's a scene where it takes them literally 10 minutes to climb a mountain.
Yes.
So they cram all of that into 2 hours, but also just occasionally take like 5 minutes for just a scene where they're walking. They're just doing nothing. They're just walking.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a sip of this, and why don't you tell me what you thought about Krull?
Well, yeah, that pacing reminded me of some of the early stories that I wrote when I was in high school, where I would like put a lot of time into one thing that didn't really need it, and then be like, and then so-and-so died, and a day passed, and then
there was a war.
Before they knew it, they were on the boat. Like, wait, what? How did that?
Correct.
What? It's because I didn't feel like writing that part, so I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah,
I read it over, and I'm like, this is really not.
This
not
movie
good.
this movie has some pacing issues, and
yes.
This is one of those things. Like, I like picking movies like this for this podcast because I'm not going to argue that this is a good movie.
Okay, good.
It's the special effects are cheesy, even though they're high. A lot of them are really high quality. The stop motion stuff with the crystal spiders is like really good, really well done. But a lot of it is just early or not early, but it's that sort of mid section of green screen where they hadn't quite figured it out yet.
Yeah, I saw a lot of glow behind people.
Yeah.
Well, I guess here's the question. It's definitely not good now. Was it good at the time?
I mean, you're asking me like to 10-year-old me? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome, like it was swashbuckling and great, and Colwyn was cool, and the Cyclops was awesome, and that was like a great depiction of a Cyclops. I mean, and in retrospect, like the prosthetic is horrible. The eye has like a really mechanical blink. He can't emote at all. So he just constantly looks deadpan. Well,
not even with the rest of his face.
Right. Yeah. The makeup is so extensive that he can't move his own human brow. Those are the things you immediately start to notice about whether it's a puppet or a prosthetic or whatever, makeup, like whatever it is. You immediately start to notice when things just can't move like a human moves. Like you are used to seeing a human face and how it moves. And even when it just has one eye, you know that there should be things happening. Like our eyes don't just blink. Like other things happen. Things twitch, skin pulls, all sorts of stuff.
Peripheral vision is a thing.
You don't just constantly look straight ahead.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved Ergo as the comedy relief. He accidentally turns himself to a goose once.
He was pretty funny.
He's fun. He's incompetent, but also ends up, being instrumental in aspects of the victory. He's just a great comedy relief character. Like he's like a better sort of C-3PO who he's complaining and he's bumbling the whole time. But then like when it actually comes down to it, he really is capable. He's not just and running away. I mean, like this, it was great as a kid, as a 10-year-old.
Well, my least favorite part is the fact that Lissa, the love interest, has nothing to do.
Oh yeah.
Except stand there and go, "Oh, Colwyn, where's Colwyn? Colwyn will say nothing." Like nothing. She's not even.
She doesn't even have as much to do as I forget her name.
What's her face in Flash Gordon?
Yeah, but also that. But also like, what's her name in Legend?
I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen Legend?
No.
Oh, put it on the list. She is also kidnapped by the big bad, but she at least has kind of like a back and forth thing. There's a similar attempt to seduce her that's made to seduce, like there's a power, trying to seduce her with power and all this stuff. She has way more to do than Lissa has, in this movie. Yeah. I mean, it's the 80s. There are no positive female portrayals in this movie.
This movie definitely does not pass the Bechdel test.
No.
Well, at the end, when they realize what they say is Coleman can't get the Glade back. And so he's like, oh my gosh, I've lost my weapon. And she says, no, it's you. You can do. And he says, oh no, it's us.
It's us.
Because they are recalling from the ceremony, there's this like, only the woman I love can get this fire. And she says, and I will only give it to my husband. And they do that. And that's what, and so for a split second, I was like, oh, well, this is nice. Like it's the two of them as a healthy couple. And that's what's part. And then no, it's not. It's just.
She gives Colwyn the power
and then she stands back and watches while he does all the work. I'm just like, really?
No, this isn't redeeming really in the slightest, but she does want to fight with him in the beginning. So when the castle is attacked and their wedding is interrupted, she wants to stay by his side. She wants to fight. She even has a sword. Like she's ready to go.
Well, but
then she is just like, they're just like, no, you're too important. We must escort you away. And they escort her right into a trap. So I'm saying it's not redeeming it. It's not like a Princess Leia who picks up the pistol, the blaster almost immediately and starts shooting back.
Show herself to be all that capable. Maybe she is, but we definitely we don't see it.
She doesn't have a chance. Maybe but yeah, no, she's not. You're not going to find any good. It's a 1983 movie. You're not going to find. And it's just a generic fantasy sci-fi family. Like no one was thinking at that time about families have ladies in them too, and maybe we should give them some. Right. They were like. We don't need to give the ladies anything. Colwyn had his shirt off in the first 5 minutes of the movie. Mm-hmm. I mean, did you see that thick chest hair? Come on,
they're satisfied. We're good.
Yeah. So the actor that played Colwyn, Ken Marshall, I feel like they wanted him to sort of become a thing, and I don't think he ever did. I didn't really look at his IMDb, but I don't recall ever seeing him in anything else. A lot of these actors are regulars on British television.
Yeah, there was one guy that I recognized, and I had to go look him up. I'm like, where? He was in. So what he was in was
right.
Yeah, he was in. For some reason, the Harrison Ford, Jack Ryan movies have been on a lot recently, and I here and there I see a little bit, and he's a cop in one of them in the UK. Does not have much hair left, or didn't in,
he was already bald
10 years after this, and by now probably is none. Well, and I looked him up, and he did stints as a gravedigger.
Nice.
And I was like, yeah, that tracks. He looks like that's what he would have done. So
yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
He's one of those great guys that has that thing of he's got I don't even know what you would call it. It's like a scar. But
it looks like he got knifed in the face and had some pretty bad acne too.
Yeah, I'm sure they have in the casting, he has a facial difference. He'll make a good villain in this movie. Yeah. Like the guy from The Crow, the bull fucking shit guy, the detective with all the acne scars and stuff, or burn scars or whatever he had. Yeah, I just need a cop that just has a facial difference.
Well,
he needs to have pockmarks or a scar or whatever.
Something, to show that he's lived a tough life. Tough life where they didn't have benzoyl peroxide,
right?
And people got knifed.
We didn't have any acne cream. You know what we did to treat zits? We stabbed ourselves in the face with a knife. That's what we did.
Why didn't I try that?
I know, right? Yeah. So there's they wanted Ken Marshall to become a thing, for sure. But it just, this was not. This was supposed to be his vehicle.
I wonder what his background was, because he has the body shape of a ballet dancer.
Of a dancer. Well, and that's why
very slim through the hips.
Yeah, and that's why I told you before we started this, he reminds me of Patrick Swayze.
Oh, yeah.
He's got that sort of Point Break Patrick Swayze, the light beard, the light hair,
Okay, I get it.
And he's got that sort of lithe dancer's body that Swayze has.
I think his face looks like Swayze, but if you talk about the body and then I can see that.
I don't know how to talk about this without probably being racist. when you have a whitish actor or, a actor of possibly European descent, but they have the very distinct almond eyes, almost Asian in nature. Like I know a lot, like Russians can have eyes like that. He has that, and Swayze has that. They have these like extremely.
I think you say almond-shaped eyes or high cheekbones. I think
maybe
can kind of pull the eyes.
But the reason I think he looks like Patrick Swayze is because of that close cropped beard, and he's got those same kind of cheekbones and eyes. Like if you cut him off at the nose, from there up, it's Patrick Swayze all day long.
I didn't see it. Who I did see, and I mentioned this to you, and you were like, "No, I don't see it at all," is the guy from Twin Peaks who was also in Dune. I think his name's Everett McGill. That's who he looks like.
I mean, I know what you're going at with that, with the facial structure, but to me, McGill is much more. His facial structure is much more pronounced.
Well, I would say this guy is much more attractive than McGill is, but there's something in there.
That's why I send him to Swayze Town. Send him to Swayze Town on the Dreamboat Express.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Or on the Swayze Express. Yeah, Ken Marshall. This movie had a lot of weird stuff. The actress, I forget her name now, that played Lyssa. This was like one of her first movies. She was like 19 or something. So this is like really paralleling Star Wars. And paralleling Star Wars, Carrie Fisher had kind of like a breathy, like husky kind of, like she didn't have a petite voice. She was petite and like 19, but like she had an authoritative sort of voice in Star Wars. She can go right back and forth quipping with Harrison Ford, and she's not a wilting lily in her voice or in her actions. Apparently this actress's voice not only was in an English accent, but it was also not all that brusque or whatever they wanted out of it. So she is completely dubbed by an American actress.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I forget her name. She was in, she played somebody in All the President's Men, K something. Yeah. But anyway, the character's name was K something.
Okay.
Anyway, but yeah, she was in All the President's Men and tons of movies. But yeah, all of her lines are completely dubbed.
Oh, wow. That's always a shame.
Yeah. And
that makes
But as far as I can see, this actress went on to the actress that played Lyssa went on to do, and still has to this day, a great career. She does a lot of British television, and is like well known over there. Just there's a few little things like that in this movie. Also, like there are people you recognize, like we said, but the one that I recognize that maybe you didn't is Charlie Bucket's teacher from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, plays Ergo the Magnificent.
Definitely did that.
And he's a British comedian. People knew him. Like he's like what's that guy's name? Noel Fielding, I think is his name.
I don't know.
He was on the IT Crowd. He's just on a bunch of British talk shows and stuff. And he's got kind of like that sort of same longish dark hair. And he's on everything, and he's got kind of a prominent nose.
Also a pronounced jaw.
And a very pronounced jaw.
He has a little bit of a Monty Python look.
Yeah, he does. But yeah, this guy reminds me of like a Noel Fielding type. Like he's just like a silly comedian, and he's great. And like I said, Ergo's, as a 10-year-old, Ergo's hilarious. He's got all the quips. He loves these boysenberries or whatever the heck kind of berries. He's always spotting them, and he's always fainting, and but like I said, when it comes down to it, he turns into a tiger and he messes people up. Anything for you that stood out about this movie? Anything else? We've mentioned a few things. I got a couple more things on the list I want to talk about, but I don't want to bogart the conversation here.
I don't know. My main takeaway was give women something to do.
Yeah, agreed.
Besides just fret over, when will I be saved?
Yeah, she is she's running around, like she's actively trying to resist, but she's not doing much at all. Actually, speaking of running around, one of the things I have is about the set design and like the character design. It's like someone saw Alien. I don't think Aliens was out at this point. and was like, man, I like that this Giger guy, that I like those designs. Give me something like that, but also like have some kind of like trippy abstract artist do all the designs. So when they're in the Black Fortress, everything she walks through is like, it can't just be like a hallway. It's a hallway that's like a hand with claws, and it's bent over and it swirls around.
Yeah.
And then she goes through this other thing, and there's like this crazy domed cathedral ceiling, and then there are these tendrils everywhere and like crazy bridges that look like bones. And,
well, yeah, the whole thing looked like a skeleton, like someone's jaw.
Yeah.
And and there's like gaps between the teeth, and those are the windows, or like it's a spine, or like you said, claws and stuff. Yeah. And it was just,
and like for some reason the Beast has a room that from the outside just looks like a human eye. Like it's all of the part like airbrushed. It's everything around the eye, and the pupil is the window that she like looks out of.
And
she stands in.
Dark inside, and she's dressed in all white, and so it's very
it looks like
looking. It was a little bit like a James Bond intro.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like H.R. Giger stuff, because all like the weird spines and stuff, like by way of like Salvador Dali or something. It's all like slightly askew and misshapen, but it's also weirdly like biomechanical, and even the design of the Beast is 100% Giger. Like it's alien-like, and the way they shoot the Beast, I feel like somebody was not happy with that costume. Or the animatronics on it, because it's either a close-up of the eye of the Beast or a far shot through like a haze. Like you never get a clean look at it.
It looked like it was in an amniotic sack the whole time.
Like he's
so it wasn't really all that scary, because I didn't have the sense that he was going to do anything to you. Like the stormtroopers, yes. Yeah. And he's like threatening, but what is he going to do? I don't know.
And like the troopers, the Slayers, their armor and stuff's kind of modeled after him. And his sort of appearance. Yeah. And he shoots balls of energy out of his mouth, and he has weird long fingers. Lots of people in this movie have weird long fingers. Anyone who's going to kill someone has weird long fingers. The changeling that kills the blind seer, his fingers get long before he does it. They get long before he tries to kill Colwyn. The Beast, again, so fears the power of love that he sends one of his acolytes to try to seduce Colwyn so that he can show Lyssa that Colwyn will run to the comfort of some female stranger when it's offered, because he is just a man and they're weak or whatever. And so he sends this enchanted woman to Colwyn, and he says, "No, I cannot have comfort when my bride has none." And so she's supposed to kill him, and her fingers get long, and she's like, "I could have. They were at your neck. But in the hour I knew you, I fell in love with you."
Because he's just that great of a guy.
Colwyn has big D energy. And she fell for it.
Well, again, Swayze, like that's...
Yeah. And he, and so the Beast kills her, and he blows air on her, and she screams. Yeah, like the production design, like the design, I love the design of the castle where the wedding happens. It's all like very angular. It's like a traditional looking castle, but like an architect from the 80s built a traditional looking castle. It's very angular, and there's some really cool lines and stuff in the designs.
It's like medieval meets brutalist.
Yeah, and then all of the guards at the castle are wearing like plastic looking armor. That's very weird. Like there's no consistency to exactly what level of technology is available in this place. The Cyclops somehow came here from another planet. The guards have what very clearly looks like plastic armor. The Slayers have spears that can shoot one single laser bolt. Then they have to flip them around and fight with them. So it's like musket type technology. Mm-hmm. The glaive is magical and can fly out. The glaive, by the way, is like a 5-pointed, looks like a starfish kind of, and knives pop out at the end of it. And so then he throws it. Look at the picture on Twitter.
It's kind of like a boomerang, but bigger with switchblades on it. It's
like 3 boomerangs taped together with knives on with table knives on the end of it, and you throw and jewels, and you throw it, and it comes back. and it's magic, and sometimes it just hovers. And there's a very awkward scene at the end where he's fighting the beast, and he's throwing the glaive. He being Colwyn, he's throwing the glaive, and the glaive, hits the beast, and the beast is bleeding, and you're like, oh, the beast can be killed, and then the glaive just like hovers there, and Colwyn's like not sure what's going on, but he's still holding out his hand, like, come on back. And the glaive just like does a little juke side to side, and then just buries itself in the chest of the beast.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
It's stuck.
And then it gets stuck, right? Yeah. After that, it gets stuck, and then that's when the power of love has to overcome.
Why did they not use the? Oh gosh, who is it? Huey Lewis.
Oh, I thought you were going to say. Oh, right. Yeah. The power of love. I thought you were going to say. What's the one? Glory of Love.
Yeah.
That's the Glory of Love.
No. Yeah. Tailor-made.
Power of Love, tailor-made, but Glory of Love, it's a little bit more thematic. I'm your knight in shining armor from a long time ago.
Sure.
Save the day, take you to my castle.
Yeah. I feel like, I can't remember all the lyrics. I feel like Power of Love is a little bit more explicit about electricity and gigawatts and,
Yeah. Also wouldn't be written for like another 3 years.
Yeah.
Technicals, don't bother me with details.
They could see the future,
I got a good idea. Huey Lewis should have written it for this movie.
Yeah.
He probably had it. It was probably on a demo tape somewhere. Yes. He had it. He had a scratch track. He had it ready to go.
He wanted to play it at his high school dance, and they said, I'm sorry, you're just too loud.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
except for one guy who was like, hey, Huey Lewis from 3 years from now, you got to hear this. And held the phone up.
That's like right. This is like a joke wrapped in.
Yes.
An inside reference wrapped in. Yeah.
It's too much.
Glad you got it, though.
Speaking of music, though, James Horner, who would go on to do the soundtracks for Titanic and Braveheart and Aliens and many other movies, just put out a banger for this. Like, they told him, we want it to be Star Wars-like, and, we want a John Williams-esque sort of medieval sci-fi theme, and he just went in, got the freaking London Symphony Orchestra to play on this, and just went all out. Like, the music is just over the top good. But yeah, it goes hard. Like, it's just, and it's not synth or anything. I feel like this movie begs for synth kind of tones, but he just kept it straight, symphonic, and just went for it. And it's kind of like we were talking about Legend. Legend has this thing where John Williams did a soundtrack for Legend, and also the avant-garde band Tangerine Dream did a soundtrack, and in America it got the Tangerine Dream soundtrack, and in the rest of the world it got the John Williams soundtrack. And there's forever a debate amongst us fans of Legend. I'm going to say we call ourselves Legend heads, and there's forever a debate as to which is the better soundtrack, and it's the Tangerine Dream soundtrack all the way. It's better.
Good to know.
But yeah, like it cried out for synth, but he was like, nope, I'm just straight ahead, hard as fuck. Symphonic soundtrack, and he knocked it out of the park. It's great. It's got some good themes in it. Like, just, it's wonderful.
Okay. Good to know.
Tell me about how you love James Horner's soundtrack.
You
barely noticed it.
Shan't. I really didn't. At the beginning, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, there's some stuff going on. And then after a while, I was like,
yeah, well,
I got lost.
I don't know if there's a whole lot more to say about this movie. It's it's in that set of cult classics from the 80s. It's in it. It has a forever home in the wood grain VHS box in my heart. I would never argue that this is a good movie. I don't know that any adult who has never seen it watching it now would enjoy it that much, But at the very least, it's just a straight ahead adventure. A lot of stuff happens, a lot of stuff doesn't happen, but it's fun. I think a kid would enjoy it well enough.
Sure.
We could have brought the kid to this one, but there's a couple of scary parts in it, and just, but yeah, Krull. Like, they don't make movies like this anymore. Like, people, they don't give people like millions of dollars to make out there kind of weird movies. Even though, like I said, this movie was a blatant cash grab attempt. Mm-hmm. Someone still gave the director of Bullet a bunch of money to try and make a sword and sorcery meets Star Wars epic.
They should have had a car chase in it, and
right, they could have. There was not even a horse chase. I mean, the horses, the fire mares run, but it's not even a horse chase.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for a story that depends on, that interplanetary travel exists, everyone's remarkably like land bound when it comes to getting to the Iron Desert and all these things. And I was like,
yeah,
why?
That's the weird thing. Like I said, nothing about this movie is consistent.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can tell people put a lot of thought into the world. Not a lot of thought into this world
at all.
I mean, just down to the simple stuff. Like, the beginning of this movie is the Black Fortress landing on Krull. We don't know when it lands. We don't know how long it's been there. It's been there long enough that there's war, and the beginning voiceover kind of indicates that it landed, then some time passed, and now we are where we are. So it just moves through space real slow, like the Star Destroyer in Star Wars, and slowly sits down on the surface of the planet. After that, it's revealed that this thing can just teleport wherever it wants to go, anywhere on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
But it had to fly here through space to get to the planet. So it's got a teleporter, but it's short range, I guess. But yet it's long range enough to be able to go 1,000 leagues away in a day. Couldn't you just like do some kind of, hopping through space, point to point, not going, from point A to point B, but A to B to C to D, et cetera, till you get your, I don't know. Yeah. The technology is uncertain. It is fueled by, the beast.
Hopes and dreams. I don't know.
The hopes and dreams of the beast. The beast in the end, like, I'm not saying I'm a beast apologist, but he's just looking for love, right? He's going about it in the wrong way. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But he's just looking for love. He just wants someone to rule the universe alongside of him. Mm-hmm. Which I think is not an unreasonable thing to ask.
Well, he's a bit of an incel. Like, he's blaming the women for things. Like, this is a you problem, bro.
He's got a long way to go. But I think the right sort of woman could really, he needs a strong female who will whip him into shape, put him in his place. And I think he's got potential. But yeah, he's just looking for love. Like, so he's misunderstood maybe a little bit. But in the end, yeah, he's going about things the wrong way.
Yes,
so I can appreciate that he needed to be vanquished, but
okay.
If Lissa had just given him a chance, like, I'm not saying like he offered her a beautiful gown with a crown. He even offered to take the form of Colwyn.
Except for the eyes.
Those
eyes are kind of it's a little bit of a turn off.
But like, he could have given her anything she wanted. She could have had an actual Patrick Swayze. He's going out of his way to please her. And she's just like, no, thank you.
Yeah. But she said no.
He did technically kidnap her, but still.
Yeah. She said no. And when a woman says no, means no.
That's true. That's true.
Well, okay.
All right, Krull.
Anything else?
I got another 10 minutes on Krull. I can 20. Let me stretch it. The more I drink of this
I don't have it in me.
Irish whiskey and Coke, the more I will talk about Krull.
I don't have it in me. I think we're good.
I think we're good too.
We're good.
Yeah, check out Krull. Show it to your kids. It's a great movie.
Well, yeah, folks. Yeah. So yeah, if you do, let us know what you think. We would love to hear from you. Do you, as I, have a problem with the complete lack of strong female characters in this movie? Let us know. Or do you like it too? And it's fine. It was the 80s. Whatever.
Excuse it. It's
stuff
the 80s.
happens.
Just excuse it.
It was a different time. Lord knows there were no strong women in the 80s.
None.
They hadn't been invented yet.
It's a shame.
Our moms both are like, what?
Right.
What? Anyway, so let us know what you think. You can tweet at us, you can send us an email, or you can contact us on Facebook. Our handle for all of those is YSMY Podcast, YSMY for You Show Me Yours. You can tweet at us, you can send us an email at gmail.com, or find us on our Facebook page, because we are nothing if not up to date with current social media trends. And we have new episodes every other Wednesday. We're back to our regular schedule.
We were so excited about Krull. We didn't even remark on the fact that we're coming off.
We're done with after the first date month. We're back to before the first date.
1983.
So you can find our new episodes. Guaranteed 2 weeks from today, there'll be something new posted. And if you go to any of your major podcast providers, specifically Apple Podcasts, you can get subscribe and you can get our latest episode right in your queue. We would love it if you would also rate and review us and let other people know what your favorite episode is. I know people keep downloading like the old stuff and in addition to the new things. So there's some interest out there, but we'd love to know what you think. We need
upwards of 25 people have listened to some of these episodes.
Yeah.
We know that's not all our family and bots.
Because I don't have that many family members. So yeah. But spread the word. We have fun. We hope that you do too. And let's see. So we are back to every other Wednesday. So in 2 weeks, I will be hosting, and I am going to try to show Dave A League of Their Own. I believe I can find it.
Sure.
Assuming that I can, that's what we'll watch. I feel like you may have seen this, but it's still
yes. Okay. I've seen. I mean, it's worth talking about. Yeah. I mean, again, I've said it before. The best thing about having your own podcast that has strict rules about what movies you watch is you can break them whenever you want.
Yes. Well, so, technically, our rule is just movies that one of us loved. It doesn't say that the other one hasn't seen. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. True. But in the spirit. We're breaking the spirit.
Oh, that's true.
But yes, I've seen League of Their Own many times. Yes. No crying in baseball.
We'll talk about it anyway. So, all right. So we'll see you in 2 weeks with League of Their Own. And in the meantime, this has been You Show Me Yours. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. The You Show Me Yours theme song is Uplifting Electronic Indie by Winnie the Moog from filmmusic.io.